Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. We are continuing with our series of position breakdowns as the season inches closer. We're really excited to get into the quarterback position. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I said quarterback. So a lot of people don't think there's a lot of controversy there because as far as the starting quarterback goes, there's absolutely none. But you know, this isn't the Dallas Cowboys we're talking about here. As far as the depth chart goes, who will be the number two? How many quarterbacks will carry? There's a lot of question marks we have there. So, Glenn, why don't you start us off and let us know who the four quarterbacks we have that, you know, going into camp, and then we'll kind of go from there and talk about what we think we'll do.
Yeah, so, of course, we got Lamar Jackson, the reigning MVP, leading the group and safe and secure in his role as the starter. There will be no quarterback battle here. But second, third, and fourth, that's where it could get interesting. So second string right now is Robert Griffin III. Third string is Trey McSorley, last year's sixth-round draft pick, I believe. And right now, as the fourth quarterback is listed, Tyler Huntley, undrafted free agent rookie out of Utah. Have you heard of Utah, Univer?
A couple times.
Yeah, so we know James is a graduate of Utah, okay, University of Utah. So he's a Ute through and through, and so I think we know where he's going to lean here on the quarterback. But first I want to start – let's first try and establish how many quarterbacks you think they'll keep, because up till in 2017 when the Joe Flacco era was in Baltimore, we were a two-quarterback team because Joe was incredibly durable, and they found that roster spot was more valuable given elsewhere, given the unlikeliness that a third quarterback would ever dress. And what's the point? But as of 2018, when we drafted Lamar, as you know, we started keeping three quarterbacks. So in 18 and 19, we had three quarterbacks both. So what do you think they end up doing here? You know, Lamar Jackson runs the type of offense where he's contacted often. So do you think that they continue what they've done the past 2 years and keep the three quarterbacks, or do you think with all these heated position battles going up and down the roster, do you think there's a shot that they only stick with two?
I'm trying to think of a way that they have two, but you know, the more and more I think about it, I do think it's going to be three. And in fact, it's going to be kind of uneventful. I think that Tyler Huntley is going to be our practice squad guy. And so our practice squad guys, so that way we can simulate a similar offense with our practice squad guys, right? Yeah. That Lamar is running. And I know that RG3 takes a lot of pride in being that opposing team's quarterback, you know, leading up to the season. So beforehand, I was really, and I have thought about this a lot, about pushing for Tyler Huntley, because just to give you guys an idea, he's very similar to Lamar in his style of play, not as athletic, not as fast, not as explosive. I think you can argue that he's got just as much of an arm. The kid's got a cannon. I mean, okay. He's got a real cannon on him. But as far as the other things go, obviously doesn't compare. But his stylistically is very similar. But like you said, based on the fact that McSorley is a draft pick, only going into second year, I think he showed promise last year. I just don't know how much room there is to change things up. And so I don't know if we go two, because like you said, the style of Lamar just makes me a little nervous to go with two quarterbacks. Right now, if I had to bet on it, I think it's going to be kind of uneventful now that I'm thinking about it. I think that RG3 is going to be our number two, and I think McSorley is going to be our number three, and Tyler is going to be on the practice squad.
Well, let me ask you this. If you think that they are able to get Tyler Huntley onto the practice squad without him being scooped up by any other team that's willing to put him on their 53 or if it expands to 56 this year, I'm not sure which number. But if we can get him on the practice squad, then what's the harm in running in only keeping two? Say you keep Lamar and Robert Griffin. So, yeah, maybe Lamar gets hurt in one game and RG3 is forced to finish that game, and then you can quickly bring Tyler up for the very following week. What's the harm in that?
Yeah, so that's a really good point, actually. So if that were the case and that were the thinking, which now that you're telling, I'm hearing it from you, it makes a lot more sense. So I appreciate you bringing.
Yeah, sure, man. That's what I'm here for.
I think that, RG3 would have to be the odd man out in this situation.
Which is it's tough because you mentioned he embraced this backup role more than anyone could have imagined. I mean, this guy, you mentioned his pride in imitating the opposing quarterback to help the defense for the following game, and you're right. I mean, he didn't just run the plays. He tried to emulate the guy's stride. He tried to emulate the guy's release. He tried to do everything he could to be the opposing team's quarterback for that defense to help get the defense prepared. So he wasn't just your average backup. Now, that doesn't even count what he would bring in the quarterback room as far as helping Lamar, the role model that he was able to turn himself into in his kind of his second act of his career. Because, I mean, it's not easy to go from being the guy to being the star, the guy that was on our TVs every hour and a half doing a Subway commercial, jumping through and stiff-arming somebody for his 12-inch footlong. I mean, this guy was the guy, and he turned himself from being the guy, the Heisman winner, the offensive player of the year, into being the best backup. So I think that even though it's unlikely that Ravens ever cut draft picks in the first two seasons, I think Trey McSorley could be on the outside looking in, and I think that Tyler Huntley is more of what they wanted when they drafted McSorley. When they drafted McSorley, they wanted a guy who is a dual threat, a guy that can run and throw, and he did that in college, but he doesn't have the NFL athleticism that Tyler Huntley and Lamar Jackson have, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I referred to The Office a while ago, and I'm going to do it again because I've been watching way too much of it in quarantine.
I'm with you, man.
It's bad. So there's a time when Jim comes out and lets people know they're not getting raises, and then they all hammer him, and he goes, "I'm going to reverse." Right? So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to back it up.
All right.
Because I just realized that, once again, you brought some common sense to the room. I will say that man, it would be interesting to see if McSorley is really the odd man out, but I can totally see it because it's a style-based thing, right? Like RG3 fits the scheme. Tyler Huntley fits the scheme, maybe even closer than RG3 does to Lamar because they've run similar offenses, for a very long time. So I think you're right. I think that Tyler is going to be the third guy, but the practice squad guy, and then you can take RG3, make him your backup, and you have an extra roster spot at that point.
Yeah, and they showed how they want to. This running back room is crowded. So if you're going to be able to keep four running backs, you have to take that spot away from some other position. So, to me, I think it's an interesting decision on how many quarterbacks to keep and which one, because I think Trace could get passed through waivers and get onto the practice squad, and Huntley could too. But Huntley, I think, has the higher ceiling than Trace does in our offense, because who would you want? Let's say Tyler Huntley comes out and he's just he doesn't do anything great, but he doesn't do anything to hurt himself as far as turning the ball over, fumbling the ball at the mesh point. If he just shows he can come in and be serviceable, to me, I'd rather have Tyler in there because of his incredible athleticism. Do you know if he ran? Did he run at the combine?
No, he actually wasn't invited to the combine.
Wow, that's shocking. Yeah, and then of course with pro days being canceled, we don't know what he can run. But
what hurt him a lot was the lack of physicals, right? So like physicals weren't able to be done. And I know he had a lingering shoulder in college and a lingering knee. He honestly didn't miss a lot of games, but he was just playing through them. And so there's some question marks as far as accomplishments, and Hans Pick talked about it, and skills out on the field. They're all there, right? And I would say that his college career, as far as accolades, it's not like McSorley is way above him. McSorley had a great college career. So did Tyler.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid was a real player, and I think that's what hurt him a lot, the lack of ability to answer some of those questions, so our teams just weren't willing to take a chance.
Yeah, and we might be more familiar with Trace's success because he played at Penn State, and that's relatively close to us, and he didn't play in Utah. And Trace, like you mentioned, I mean, he had a heck of a backfield with Saquon behind him, and they had a lot of team success. But that doesn't make him a better player than Huntley. And that certainly doesn't make him a better fit for our offense than Huntley. Now, I'm not saying Tyler is yet. We still have to see what he does in training camp, preseason, if there is one. Please let there be one, by the way. Please, please, please let there be football. But it's going to be an interesting battle, and it's going to be interesting to see because if the Ravens are hearing, oh, man, there's a lot of interest in that Tyler kid because he's been balling in the preseason, we don't think you can get him through waivers and get him on the practice squad. It's going to make them have to make a tough decision on what they end up doing with Tyler. You know, if Lamar was to miss a long period of time or miss the season's done anyway. So we're mainly talking about what if Lamar was to miss 2 weeks? Who would you want as your backup? Would you want it to be Robert and then Trace, or Robert and then Tyler, or would you want one of those guys to jump Robert? I mean, that's the question. Because, yeah, I mean, if Lamar goes to IR, I think the season's over.
All right, so I've gone full circle in this conversation, okay?
You talk through it. That's what happens.
And look, I hate when – I don't hate when. I feel like I like when I agree with you. However –
you don't want it to happen too often?
Yeah, I try and be my own man, you know?
Oh, I got you.
So, but this is the thing. I'm making a definitive statement. And I'm going out on a limb. This is what it will be. You're absolutely so. It's a style thing, right? Tyler is the closest thing right now coming off the bus that we have to Lamar. If just showing camp that he can be serviceable and not make mistakes, he is already based on the fact that RG3 is old and unfortunately poor guy, but he's washed up. And Trace is a square peg. You know, he's a square peg in a circle hole.
Yeah.
Tyler, I'm definitively saying it right now. He's going to be our number 2.
Oh, man.
I'm saying it right now. You talked me out of it and then back into it.
Look at that, man. And that's now I don't know if it's quite fair enough to say Trace is a square going into a circle hole. I don't know if he's not like, you know, a big statue back there. He's got some mobility to him, but certainly not to the degree of Tyler, Lamar, and what the old RG3 could bring to us. But yeah, no. So I think it's going to be an interesting battle. I think if I had to put my money on it, I would say that Trace is going to be the odd man out, which is weird because he's a recent draft pick, even though it was a late pick.
Yeah. So I say Trace, go learn to play slot receiver really fast and get really good at it.
That ain't happening. He's a quarterback, but that's okay because I like Trace and he's not bad. He's just. You know, I mean, there's certain shortcomings to his game that he's going to have to overcome, both physically and, you know, mentally that I don't know if he can, but I'm rooting for him, you know.
The Chicago Bears to give us a call.
Yeah, they seem to take any quarterback, right? I mean, my goodness.
My depth chart is going to be Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley.
Oh, my goodness.
And I think I understand what you're saying about Trace McSorley. I think the RG3 is going to be the odd man out, and I think that Trace is going to be able to live on the practice squad. I don't think he's going to be able to, I don't think he's going to get scooped up. I don't think he's going to get that much interest. So, therefore, Tyler, based on his interest, is going to be forced into that number 2 spot.
Okay, so you got RG3 being gone off the team. I got Trace being gone off the team, but both of us have Lamar and Tyler being in that quarterback room whenever this season does start. So, okay, all right. Well, I'm not mad about that. So, guys, let us know what you guys think. Let us know if they're keeping 2. Let us know if they're keeping 3. And if so, who your 3 or 2 will be. I think we all know who number 1 will be, but let's talk about after that. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button if you liked our videos and hit the notification bell to get our most recent videos. And we'll talk to you soon.